Hello, my name is Jesus Contreras. For the first module, well, I'm going to show my project. For the first module, I decided to learn Java. So as you can see here, I have my project. I decided to make a weather app that shows today and tomorrow weather. Uh, I I set it Java to be in Visual Studio Code, so I can use it on Visual Studio Code. As you can see here, I have my project on Visual Studio Code using Java. So I'll show you my project. It's loading. This is my app. Here I'll ask the user for the city, and then it can be a city of anywhere. So they can introduce whatever city they want. At the first run of the app will get the user current city, so it will display the information, the weather information of that city. I use an API called IP hyphen API to get the city of the user from the IP. So it will show the today weather, the tomorrow forecast weather, the temperature, the weather condition, the humidity, and the wind speed, as you can see. Okay, so now I will show you how the app works. For example, if I introduce Las Vegas, then it will give the user the information of the weather for that city. For example, Buffalo will give the user the information of that city. And the last one, New York. I introduce New York. So as you can see, here is the information of the city too. So this is how my app works. Okay, so I have here the all the program. I have to use the jar um, file that is needed to read and use information from the API as a JSON using JSON. So that's why I use this .jar file that I have over here. Well, the file that I'm showing now is the main file that will run my weather app graphic user interface. As you can see here, in Java we have to use a main function that will run the whole program. So this is my main function. It will call the weather app graphic user interface and will set it visible, and then I have to be true to show it to the user. So now I'll show you that file, the weather app files. As you can see here, these are the libraries that I use. Then after that, here I have my public class weather app, and then after that I have the function. Sorry, this is not here. This is the one. I have my libraries, then I have my public class weather graphic user interface. Um, it extends frame because I'm going to use a frame. I decided to use Swing in order to develop to deploy my graphic user interface. Here are some methods to make the interface more friendly to the user to look to look at it better. So I established the sign pixels that you can see here, and then the color, and after that I call the add graphic using interface components that is going to be all the labels and all the fields on the app that are going to display information. Okay, this is the front end part of my app. Now I have another file that is the one that I showed before first. This is going to be the back end. So here I call this method from the back end to get the user city. So I'll show you quickly that method, that function. Over here is that function. Okay, it's here. This is the function that will give me the current city of the user. As I mentioned before, I use this API, so I have to create a URL object with the URL that I'm going to use, and after that I make a connection, and then I set the request method to get, because I'm going to retrieve information from that API, and then I I create an input string to get the input string. That means the response from the API, the information that I'm going to use, and then I use a scanner to retrieve that information from the input string, and then I add it to a variable called response, as you can see here. Well, I use this, use the limiter to identify string as one token, and then after that I get a response, and I add it to with the scanner with each line. I after checking one line, I move to the other one, and then if there's nothing left, it won't save more uh, information to this string that is over here. Then after I have to close the scanner, because if I don't close the scanner, then it will continue using resources from my computer, and I have to close it in order to to how can I say that? I forget to say in English. To to not using more those resources. So I have to close the scanner. Always that I use an scanner, I have to close it to not to get that space on the computer that the source is free. Okay, now after that I use a JSON parser, a parser in order to parse my response and make a JSON object. And after that I get the key value sitting, and I return it as a string, because the function returns a string, as you can see here, so I have to return a string. Then when I get that city, now I call the backend part that is going to give me the weather data. In the weather data, it's a little bit long, the functionality of that function, so I'll try to be quickly to explain it. Well, I need the city because my API, well, I use an API that will have two functionalities. Okay, the first one is to get the latitude and the longitude, because in order to get the weather data, I have to get the latitude and the longitude. But to get that latitude and longitude, I have to get the city, because the API to get the latitude and the longitude use the city. So here I call the function get location data, and I pass it the location name. And then here I get the location, and I have to replace the spaces to a plus in order to not have a problem when I concatenate to a URL, because the spaces are read as plus symbol, so I have to replace it. Then after that I concatenate that to my URL, as you can see here, this way, and I can get the longitude and latitude. I use a try catch block to hold the errors if I get any errors. If that's not the case, then it will return what I need to return on this function. First of all, I make the connection. The connection for making the connection, I create another function, because I'm going to work with the connection several times. So it's better to have a variable, sorry, a function, a function to to make that connection with the information and not repeat code. So as you can see here, I create a URL object, then after I make the connection, then I declare the method, and then I open the connection, then I return the connection opened. Later I will close it, because I have to close the connection in order to save resources as a scanner. As a scanner, I have to close it. So after I get my response, I now will check if the response code is of 200. If it is not, it will print an error, because it have to be 200. That means okay. So if that's not the case, then we'll print an error. If it's 200, then I will create a stream builder, and after a stream builder is a type string that is used to save API responses in a more readable way. So I use this variable over here to that. After that, I create a scanner to read each line of the response of the API, and then after reading each line, then I will concatenate it to, well, append it to the stream builder that is going to be the result Jackson. I have to close the scanner and disconnect from the API to save resources, as I mentioned here. Then after that, I parse the string to a JSON object, and I need under the results key part, then I will return the location data. The information that I need is on the index 0 of that object, so that's why I get only the index 0 information, and then after that I call the key latitude and longitude to get those values. Well, then I make my URL string to get the weather data. I concatenate the latitude and the longitude, and then I make a tree cache block. I again call the fetch API response, and I give the URL string, and it will run again the function that I showed you before, and then I will check the response. And if there's an error, it will bring it to the console. If that's not the case, then I will make the same thing that I did before with the city with the city name function that will give me the latitude and the longitude. I make a stream builder, I create a scanner, I make a loop in order to go append each line of the response from the API to the stream builder. I have to close the scanner, I have to disconnect from the connection from the API. Then after that, I pass the data into a JSON object. I have to create that parser in order to do that. Then I will get the data hourly. Okay. In the API that I use, the keys are they are in synchronized. They are synchronized. I think that's the word. What does it mean? For example, well, I want to get the current hour weather of today and tomorrow. So I want to get the temperature, the wind speed, the humidity, all those values. There are several key value pairs on my object. If, for example, I want to get the humidity, wind speed, weather condition, all the information from the current hour, that is 9 o'clock. This is an example. In the time key value pair, the current hour is on the index 2. So in the other key value pairs objects, I think I can say in that way, the wind speed, humidity, weather condition, all those values will be also in the index 2. So the information is synchronized. I mean, if the time have one index, all the other information in the hourly object, all the information that I need in the key value pairs objects on my hourly JSON object will be at the same index. So I have to get the index of that time, of the current time. Okay, so first of all, I will get all the key value per time in order to check my hour, what index it has, and with that index, I can get the other information from the whole hourly object. So I make a function called find index current time. I have to pass the time. I have to, well, in this case, I added a boolean to add a day, because in the find index current time, I will get the current time of now, right now. So if I want to get the data of tomorrow, I have to add 1 day to my current time. And in order to do that, I add a boolean. So I have to get that index twice in order to get the information of tomorrow and today, because it will give me the time, the index of the time of tomorrow when I call it again, and of today, and it will be different index because today time is different from tomorrow. Okay, even though at this time. Okay, so when I call this thing in this current time, I pass the boolean tomorrow and the JSON right time list, and then I get the current time and I pass the boolean. If it's true, then I will get information of tomorrow, not of today. So if that's not the case, I will get today information. Here I get the current time using this method that is over here. It's an object, and then I will call this method local time.now, and I will get information. I have to change the pattern of the date to be like this because the date that I will get on my JSON object will be with this pattern. So I have to change to that pattern. Okay, so after that, I check if it's tomorrow. If that's the case, I will add a day. Sorry. If that's not, well, it will not add a day, and it will format the data and return the object that will be used. Okay, so after I get the index, after I have the index to synchronize all the information, then I will populate. Well, populate now. I will get all the information of today and tomorrow, weather, and I will store it into a JSON object. So you can see here I get all the information of today and tomorrow. Here I get the temperature, the weather. I have to convert the weather to something more readable because it gives me code, so I make a function in order to change it. So it will be more readable. It will give me instead of these numbers, and that these are numbers of the weather condition, it will give me a string with the weather, as clear, cloudy, rain, snow, and foggy. So it will be more easier to use and to display my images that I have over here. Okay, so I get all those information, 7 variables, and then after I finish to that, I save it in the JSON object. I added to the JSON object with this key value first, and with this key and the value. Okay, so I return that data. Well, after that, I have the information to populate all the the fields, all the things that I have on my weather apps, all the labels, the images, all the things that I'm going to use. Okay, so here I use my information I get from the weather to populate the user weather, in this case from the current city. But I add the functionality of the test field. So the test field is going to work with a button. The button is over here. The button is going to have a action listener, because every time that the user type a city and click the button, I have to get the information from that city. So I have to run all the weather data backend part in order to get all the information again and populate all my fields, all my labels again. So as you can see here, I add the action listener, and then I use I perform the action with the action event E, and then after that, I will get the test for the search field that is going to be the city. I have to replace the spaces because the white spaces are going to be a problem for searching for a city. So I have to remove it. Okay, and then after that I will get the weather data again with the user input, and then it will run again all the backend part, excluding the part of the IP API, because I'm not going to use that function. That function is apart from the get weather data. As you can see here, it's a function separately, so I won't use this anymore. Okay, so I will get the information and I will do again the same process. I will change all the information of each label, each field on my graphic user interface. You can see here. Okay, so well, this is my app. This is my weather app. This function right here that is declared is to create images. Okay, create images um, from paths and making icons to be rendered, to be more easy to render. Okay, so this function is going to be called every time that I want to populate an image. So this function is used to that, and this other function that I established here is to give, no, to show the image, the path image that is going to be used depending of the weather condition. Because I'm going to display today and tomorrow weather condition, I decided to make a function apart to not repeat these switch cases. So with a function, then I only call it the function and don't have to repeat the switch cases two times when I want to change the image for today and tomorrow. Okay, so uh, basically this is all my program. Sorry if this video is too long, but I wanted to explain everything as it should be. If I have let something left, I haven't explained something, sorry. Well, I try to be as more as explicitly and explain everything as clear as I should. So thank you.